He really was the star player for Liverpool in this game, and if he's continuously going to be able to play centrally for Liverpool in this role, I can see him progressing and developing as a player who's really going to make a difference towards the final third of the pitch. Liverpool's tactical setup, aggression and their determination did a great job in disrupting the way that Tottenham wanted to progress the ball forwards. Take this as an example. We have the Liverpool midfielders, and I just want to highlight a couple of things. We've got McAllister here, we've got Harvey Elliott, and we've got Endo. So that's 1, 2, 3. This is your Liverpool midfield. Now let's take a look at Tottenham, because it really did make things look a little bit uncomfortable, and this, to me, this image does not look right. So, we have Pape Sarr here, who has the ball. We have Bentancur here, who is your left attacking mid. He should be here. Then you've got Son dropping a little bit deeper. You've got Basuma here. So, Pape Sarr is driving infield. You've got Basuma out here. You've got Emerson Royal ready to receive the pass here. It just doesn't look right. It's not okay. Basuma's behind the play, so he's not able to affect it. You've got Emerson Royal, who's going to possibly receive the pass. You've got Son, who's really not occupying too much. You've got an acre of space here, who no one is occupying. Bentancur isn't occupying it. It's just not good enough. It continues on, and Harvey Elliott manages to spring onto Pape Sarr, who is then going to lose the ball. The ball gets then played through into Mo Salah, and Liverpool have a massive, massive opportunity. And this happened time after time again. Spurs wanting to play out, but Liverpool's aggression, their positional play, and Spurs' lack of willingness to start switching the play was massively to their detriment, and it ended up costing them dearly. In the first half especially, Liverpool were fantastic. Tactically, they were better than Tottenham. They had a better game plan. Physically, they looked a bit better, and Tottenham didn't have any answers. And it was through this, the condensing of the space by the entire Liverpool side. One of Spurs' best attributes is being able to play into these half spaces, utilising two attacking midfielders to be able to pick up the ball, rotate round, and use movements, small movements into the box to be able to isolate little duels, isolate little pockets to be able to then make their progression. What Liverpool did so well was hamper the way that Tottenham played through. They cut off these passing lanes into these half spaces, and it meant that Tottenham could not progress the ball through the centre of the pitch. But instead of trying to find a solution, Tottenham continuously tried to find these half spaces, and this is where I think Ange Postecoglou needs to take some criticism here. The system that he has when he's up against a side that have figured them out, and I do believe a number of sides in the Premier League now have figured Tottenham out. If you hold out and stop these half spaces, Tottenham cannot play. So they need to find a different way of playing, and that's where this particular stat comes into play, because the way that Liverpool approached the game and the way that Tottenham approached the game are two completely different ways. Liverpool have the most switches of play in the Premier League this season, and Tottenham have the second lowest. Now, where this really comes in is how it allows Tottenham to isolate the space that's given to them by Liverpool in this game, which they failed to do. If, for example, we have the ball out on this Tottenham right hand side, the Liverpool left, because of the way that Liverpool want to defend, they need to move players over. Because they want to isolate and stop the half spaces, they need to cut those out, because that's where Tottenham do a lot of their good work. If they do this, they're leaving a lot of space out on this left-hand side, but they're completely fine with doing that for two reasons. Number one, Tottenham are one of the lowest sides when it comes to crossing the ball into the box aerially. They are also, as I've just mentioned, one of the lowest sides in terms of switching the play. That means that Liverpool can safely assume that Tottenham will not switch the play over to another side, which means that they're able to shuffle across whenever they need to, because the style of play and the progression of play from left to right is that much slower. And in doing this, Tottenham essentially hit a wall. The isolation of the spaces was not there. Sarr and Bentancur couldn't get into the game, which means they naturally had to drop deeper. And what this ended up doing was make Liverpool's life a whole lot easier. That meant that when Elliott was in this channel, not challenged by Bentancur, Salah could cheat. And in Salah cheating, they continuously had an out. They had an out in Salah, they had an out in Gakpo, who was able to play on the last line, and they also had an out in Diaz. Continuously, Liverpool managed to isolate the space here, and the space between the two centre-backs because of the positioning of Emerson Royal and Pedro Porro. Because Tottenham refused to switch the play or be able to go from left to right or right to left in a quick fashion, Liverpool found it so easy to stop them, and therefore the turnovers were far too high. It frustrated Tottenham and meant that they were trying to force passes that just weren't there. It was brilliantly set up and tactically executed by Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, but there was a naivety in the way that Tottenham set up, and if I'm honest, they were exploited time after time again by this Liverpool 11. When we look at the goals that Tottenham concede and the goals that Liverpool score, it's so good from Liverpool, but it's so poor from Tottenham. Take this first one, for example. Cody Gakpo has the ball out on this left-hand side. I thought he did a good job of moving into different positions. Actually, I thought it was a really good game from him. Swapping with Luis Diaz, who was in the centre of the pitch. Again, making sure that they have players in proper positions, ready to capitalise on certain situations. But we really need to be taking a moment to take a look at Emerson Royal onto Mohamed Salah, which was a mismatch from minute one. Cody Gakpo drives towards the box, and as you can see, this situation starts to develop. Emerson Royal actually doesn't end up looking to Mo Salah. I think he only does it once, but it's nowhere near enough. And one thing that I want to highlight, which didn't get picked up when the game was happening, was just after this moment. Just take an eye on him. And I'm going to go backwards and forwards just so you can see it. Look at that. Do you see that? We'll go back once. Look at that. Do you see what he does there? He tries to play offside. Now, he doesn't know that Mo Salah's behind him, which is offence number one. Offence number two is trying to play offside, which is something that Mickey van der Ven is doing. But Romero is not. If I just scroll across, you can see this. Romero's not doing that. But two of his back four are. And then you're asking where Pedro Porro is. Where is Pedro Porro? Pedro Porro's here. It's just not good enough. Kulusevski's essentially playing as a right back. It's all a bit of a mismatch. And considering the fact that Liverpool have, let's just count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, nearly 5 players entering the box, the defensive coordination from Tottenham just is not there. Mo Salah gets his head in it and it's perfectly done, but it's down to the lack of awareness of Emerson Royal, the lack of real cohesion from the Tottenham backline, and considering they only have one player out from their starting 11 back four, it's nowhere near good enough. The second one is a doozy, and by that I mean it's criminal from a Tottenham point of view. It's brilliantly worked by Liverpool, and we're going to take a look at it right now. So, we're going to have Alexis Mac Allister is receiving the pass here, and I want you to keep an eye on Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is currently out on this right-hand side. Now notice the Tottenham players, because we've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, who are not paying attention to the positioning of Trent Alexander-Arnold right now. And this is important because of what happens later. As we move the play on, Alexis Mac Allister is going to receive the pass. Trent decides to try and move in field. Now remember those 3 Tottenham players that I mentioned. 1 not looking at the player, 2 not looking at the player, 3 not looking at the player. Now, Bentancur is actually ahead of Brennan Johnson, which is baffling to me. I know he's trying to press the ball, but it doesn't really work. It should be the other way around. Bentancur should be covering the run. It's all a bit of a mismatch. Now, take nothing away from Liverpool, who managed to isolate space, work the ball around, but the defending is horrendous. The pass through is fantastic to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who manages to play in a great cross, but the actual space just to play 2 passes and carve open a right-hand side of a team, or a left-hand side of a team, I suppose, it's on Liverpool's right-hand side, is just nowhere near good enough. This is not good enough. It's just not, and I'm sorry, but it's just schoolboy stuff. It's horrendous. This is a better angle to look at it from, and really, from an actual positional point of view, it's not that bad. You've got your back 4 here, you've got your midfield 3 here, you've got Kulusevski and you've got Brennan Johnson. Defensively, they look okay, but they're nowhere near switched on enough. And then we do need to give a lot of credit to the run of Trent, who manages to keep himself onside, the run of Robertson. I mean, how many times over the years have we talked about Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold playing passes into the box and managing to get on the end of them? They're just fantastic, and it's opened up by the vision and prowess of Alexis McAllister, who plays that first time, I might add, and just takes nearly 3 people out of that Tottenham left-hand side. Just fantastic from a Liverpool point of view. The key player that I want to highlight for this game is Harvey Elliott, who put in a star performance out in that right 8 midfield channel for Liverpool. But one thing that I found really interesting a number of times throughout the game is him drifting infield as Mo Salah also came infield, allowing Trent to be out on this wide right-hand side. It gave him a freedom and a flexibility with the rotation of this Liverpool side, Gakpo moving in and around as well, and Diaz coming centrally as well. There was a fluidity to the way that Liverpool played, and I believe that Harvey Elliott was one of the main facilitators for that. Statistically, he is doing fantastic. 1 goal, 1 assist as well. He had 68 touches throughout the game with an 89% pass accuracy, which is really, really impressive. As well, we can see that he won 3 out of his 4 ground duels, which is really, really good. He just had a fantastic performance, only losing possession 7 times as well, managing to get that fantastic goal, as I said, an assist, and he had 5 key passes. He really was the star player for Liverpool in this game, and if he's continuously going to be able to play centrally for Liverpool in this role, I can see him progressing and developing as a player who's really going to make a difference towards the final third of the pitch. You thought we were done? No, there is far more. And the hilarity really does continue. You've got Harvey Elliott out on this right-hand side, swapping with Mo Salah, allowing Salah to drift infield, something that I thought was done really well in this game against Tottenham. They drift infield, and he plays a cross over the top. Now, it's what happens during this play that makes my mind just go crazy, because when we take a look at the Tottenham players, so we've got Emerson Royal not really closing down well enough, you've got Basuma here who's running back towards his own goal, and then you've got the 2 Tottenham centre-backs. Not too bad, but where is Pedro Porro? Because I'm sure there should be a right-back here. Where is he? I don't see him. Where is he? There he is. There he is. Jokes aside, I understand the fact that he needs to go forwards and it's difficult to really make those recovery runs. I understand. But what you're doing is isolating 2 players onto Romero, who fails to win their header. It's a great header by Gakpo, but it just is so defensively naive that it leaves Liverpool with several, and I do mean several, big chances. Statistically, it's a pretty poor watch for Tottenham as well. Not only do they have the goals to contend with, but really they weren't in the game at all. 3.2 XG for Liverpool, 1.16 for Tottenham. I know they have an XG of over 1, but really it was only down to the end of the second half, and that was because of all the changes that Liverpool made. 46% possession. Again, people will look towards the fact that Tottenham had more possession and think they dominated the game, whereas that's far from the case. They had less shots on target, they had less shots generally, 25 attempts from Liverpool, 13 of them on target, and that really contributes to their XG. But one thing that I think is absolutely crucial, going past the big chances and everything like that, are the duels. And it's a real telltale sign for how well a team has done and how well a team has competed. When Liverpool have 52 duels in comparison to 37, you know that they managed to really have that foothold in the game. They managed to make more challenges, more aerials won as well. You've got more tackles, you've got more interceptions. Liverpool dominated this game, not just from a statistical point of view, but just generally throughout the match. I believe that 4-2 almost flattered Tottenham, and the 2 goals that they got in the 77th and 72nd minute papered over what I believe to be a massive crack in this Tottenham lineup and progression going forwards. They need to find a way of playing that isn't just going in the way that Ange wants them to. They need a plan B, because time after time again, other teams, not just Liverpool, have been able to find Tottenham out, and they haven't had any answers. Liverpool's 4th goal actually ended up coming from a switch of play from Trent Alexander-Arnold, and this is actually a perfect moment to illustrate how good of a system, how good of a tactic this is. If you take a look at the Tottenham players and how much they've gravitated to one side of the pitch, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players nearly 8 players on one half of the pitch. And then you've got Andy Robertson hugging the touchline on the opposite side. And the pass from Trent is so good that it just enables Robertson to start and almost be naturally a little bit more aggressive. And it takes a number of Tottenham players out of the game, not to mention the fact that it's forcing them to run completely onto the opposite side of the pitch and giving Liverpool extra time to be able to create more attacking setups. So that's how that develops. Robertson takes the ball and is able to whip it into the box. And again, we're talking about this player again. Emerson Royale doesn't do well enough with the header. I have sympathy for him because he's turning at the same time while trying to head the ball. He understands that Salah's behind him. I have sympathy. What I don't have sympathy for later on is his lack of closing, because you need to be so much more aggressive onto Mo Salah here. You need to make sure that he cannot cross the ball, he cannot move the ball, and you need to make sure that you're set. He's not set at all. He's not set at all. A cross could play in here. He could switch the play. He could lay it off to Harvey Elliott, which is exactly what it does. But it's this body position. Look at him. It's this body position I don't like. He's not set. He's not ready. Not good enough. And we pass the ball to Harvey Elliott, and he does his magic, because it truly is a wonderful, wonderful strike. I don't think Bentancur does enough to close him down, but don't take anything away from the quality of the finish, because it really does go top corner. Just fantastic. It's a brilliant, brilliant goal. And look at the height difference between Vicario's hand and the ball. It's nowhere near it. It's a fantastic goal. A brilliantly worked goal. Liverpool were fantastic in this game. And tactically, they got it right. Positionally, they got it right. Athletically, they were superior. And they dominated, battered, bruised, and just were rampant against a very poor Tottenham side.